Hi, my name is Holly Lavoie, and I am the Program Coordinator for South Carolina INBRE. I also direct our Developmental Research Project program. I'd like to tell you a little bit about our largest award for faculty, the research projects. Research projects are initially one-year awards, and some of you may know these formally as our DRPs. The funding period for this upcoming year is September 2026 through August 2027. You may apply for an award for 1 or 2 years. If you have had prior DRP funding and apply for RP funding, the total number of years cannot exceed 3. For those who have not had any prior research project or DRP funding, the awards are initially made for 2 years. There is a possibility for a third year of funding through a competitive renewal process. If individuals have had 1 year of previous DRP funding, they are eligible for 2 years of research project funding. And if an individual has had 2 years of prior DRP funding, they are eligible for only 1 year of research project funding. If you receive a 2-year research project funding, the funding will be renewed for a second year automatically if a satisfactory progress report is submitted in the first year when it's requested. The important dates for this year are the letter of intent deadline, which is March the 6th, 2026. This involves providing a title and a very short few sentence description of your project. The purpose of this letter of intent is to let us know you might be submitting a proposal and to help organize reviewers for our review process. If a letter of intent is submitted, then you can submit an application, and the deadline for that is Friday, April 3rd, 2026 by 5 p.m. We will not be accepting any late applications. Both of the submission links are through the scinbre.org website under the funding tab for research projects. The number of awards varies year to year depending on the number of funded faculty we already have. This year we have 3 awards available to our undergraduate institution network, PUIs, and we have 1 award available at USC Columbia. Who is eligible to submit a research project proposal? Faculty that are in one of our South Carolina INBRE networks. Tenure track assistant and associate professors are especially encouraged to apply. Non-tenure track faculty at one of our network institutions who will obtain a tenure track status by the end of the completion of their DRP are eligible to apply. You'll need to have documentation from your institution of a pending tenure track position. More senior tenured or tenure track faculty who are later in their career who lack current NIH funding can apply if they have a major redirection in their research and they're trying to become more competitive with NIH or other funding agencies. Applicants cannot hold other substantial funding during the duration of the research project. For example, principal investigators that are recipients of NIH R01s, R21s, R15, R16, NSF Career Awards, or funded through another IDEA program such as COBRA are not eligible to apply. However, if that funding will end before the INBRE funding starts, they can submit an application. So what type of research is funded and how much is the annual budget? South Carolina INBRE is funded by the National Institutes of Health through NIGMS, and they fund research that is biomedical, relevant to human health. So your project must make a case for its relevance to human health. Our focus areas are fairly flexible. We do have concentrations of biochemistry, cell and molecular biology, bioinformatics, biomedical engineering and regenerative medicine, and neuroscience. But certainly a number of other biomedical areas are welcome. One of the key features of South Carolina INBRE projects, they must provide opportunities to train undergraduate or graduate students. Projects can include the training of a postdoctoral fellow. As part of this requirement, a description of the training for students must be part of the application. One of the big goals of South Carolina INBRE is to train the next generation of scientists for research. Budget can be up to $55,000 a year. That is direct cost. Indirect costs will be provided at your institutional rate. One limitation of South Carolina INBRE projects is that they must be spent in the defined year of the award, and there are no-cost extensions. Best place to find out and learn more about our funding programs is the SC INBRE website. On the scimbre.org website, you can go to the funding tab and you'll see a drop-down menu when RP refers to our research projects. If you click on that, as soon as our notice of funding opportunities is released to the public, all links will be updated and active. So this goes over the details such as the date, the amount of the awards, and we'll have the links for the letter of submission and the proposal submission. You'll see the goals and expectations for the research projects. You'll see the details of the letter of intent submission that is required for all projects, details about utilization of any of our core facilities, specifics about eligibility, and also the specifics about mentoring, because there is a mentoring component to the research project, especially for junior faculty, but all faculty are expected to have mentors to help them, guide them through their project. Most important are the proposal preparation instructions. We use modified NIH forms, including a modified face page, which is available at this site. Important for this year, there are changes at NIH in the biographical sketch. We're going to allow either form of biological sketch, either the one that is provided here with the application packet. If you have already mastered the NIH Common Form, you are able to submit the NIH Common Form. The budget needs to be made for 1 year only. These projects run 1 year to another, so you need to make that budget page for 1 year only, even if you're technically applying for one of the 2-year awards. There's details here if you are resubmitting an application that was not recommended for funding previously. If you have had prior funding, there's also a progress report. Specific aims are 1 page. Research strategy is up to 6 pages, where you should address significance to biomedical research and human health, innovation, what's new about your project, and your approach to completing the aims of the project. The literature cited can be up to 2 pages. If your project involves human subjects, you'll need to have a letter of approval from your IRB at the time of submission. We have found in the past that if you don't have prior approval, the approval process can take so long at different institutions. If your proposal involves vertebrate animals, we're going to need to have that approval by July 17th, 2026, if your proposal is recommended for funding. So we strongly encourage you to submit your animal protocol at the time or before you submit your research project application, so that it can go through the process and be approved by July. Some additional details of additional required pages, as well as the plan for training students during the time of the project. Postdocs as well, should there be a postdoc involved in the project. There also needs to be a faculty career development plan. There are also details on what we look for in a review of the proposal. Also, make sure you read the award and reporting requirements. I want to go back and talk about human subjects research. As I said previously, should have an IRB approval letter at the time of submission and include this with your application if you have this type of research. No clinical trials are allowed. You might have research that includes human samples that are de-identified or human cells, and there's possibility that this doesn't qualify as human subjects research. There's a worksheet on the website that you can use to determine if the type of human samples you have qualifies as human subjects research or not. So what happens to your application when you submit it? There's initial screening by our administrative core for South Carolina INBRE. We check to make sure that a letter of intent has been submitted on time. We're checking to make sure all the elements are there. If you submit your proposal a few days early, we can let you know if there's something missing. Proposals will go out to a panel of scientific experts. These individuals likely will not be experts in your very specific field. So make sure you write your applications for someone knowledgeable but who might be outside your very specific scientific niche. The reviewers will provide comments and scores, and these are sent back to SC INBRE, and they are compiled and sent to our external advisory committee, and they will do their own review and recommendations of who will be funded. Applicants will be notified of their recommendation for funding by our program director and principal investigator, Dr. Edie Goldsmith. Applications then must be approved by NIH before they release funding. If you have questions about submitting the proposal, especially the details of formatting and just general information, John Clarkson, our South Carolina INBRE business manager, can be very helpful, and here is his email address. If you have other questions or especially would like to know, does my topic fit the criteria, especially of biomedical research, I'd be happy to interact with you. Best way to contact me is through email shown here. I look forward to seeing your proposals.